Welcome to week 12 of Research Ethics. In week 12, you have required activities, which consist of the week 12 assigned readings, the week 12 discussion exercises, and the week 12 case study. Through the successful completion of the required activities, you will be able to fulfill the course learning objectives, which are knowing about potential conflicts of interest, analyzing obvious advantages of collaborative arrangement, and understanding when conflict of interest exists. And with that in mind, you definitely want to be able to answer questions about what is a conflict of interest, the situations and examples, recognizing when you have a conflict of interest, when and how to disclose a real or potential conflict, and of course, managing them. There are benefits and biases as it relates to the conflicts of interests. And a conflict of interest usually arises when an employee may benefit personally or appear to do so from dealings with an entity or person conducting business, including indirect benefits such as to family members or businesses with which the person is closely associated to. And the bias is the financial or other considerations that may compromise or maybe have the appearance of compromising the employee's objectivity or independent professional judgment in the discharge of the company's duties or responsibilities. In the case of a college, it could be the college's duties and responsibilities. Now, the conflict of interest, it could be real or maybe it appears to be real. If the situation looks like a conflict of interest or feels like a conflict of interest, it's likely there is some level of conflict. And there's something called the reasonable person test, and that is that if it's reasonable, uh, a disinterested person would conclude that an individual might emphasize personal interests over other interests for which he or she has a responsibility. There is, at the very least, the appearance of a conflict of interest. Are all conflicts of interest bad? Well, having a conflict of interest is not necessarily a problem or a bad thing. Having a conflict of interest and doing nothing about it, it is a problem. In a small community, for example, choices may be limited to certain services. Sometimes the best organization to tackle a project is the one where your family member works. And what's important in cases like this will be like full disclosure. Discounts extended through personal referrals can be of considerable value and so forth to the business. And some examples of these conflict of interest situations include accepting personal gratuities. Um, like for example, if a department director receives a free large screen TV from a vendor seeking a contract with your business, or maybe it's the information technology specialist director at a college, and they get a free TV from a vendor, seeking to get a contract with the college, that you could be in a situation of a conflict of interest. Conflicting outside employment or other allegiances. Uh, for example, if a purchasing director steers procurement decisions to favor a company where a family member works, an employee uses a confidential donor list to solicit gifts for another community or a not-for-profit organization. The CEO of an oil corporation who serves as a trustee for a college votes against divesting endowment holdings in fossil fuels. So those are different situations and examples that can lead to conflicts of interest. And you want to be able to ask yourself three questions if you consider or you think that you have a conflict of interest. And ethics, values, and integrity are the three aspects that you're focusing on. And you want to ask yourself, do my actions feel right? Do they reflect a basic understanding of generally accepted standards of right and wrong? As far as integrity, uh, am I being honest about all facets of the situations? Do the right people know what's going on? And as it relates to values, are my actions in alignment with my personal values and those of the institution I represent? If you ever suspect a conflict, report it. And regardless of whether it's a real or perceived, conflict is a conflict. As soon as you suspect a conflict, disclose it. Transparency is key. Human Resources has forms and can provide guidance. Talk with your supervisor before taking action if there's any risk of a conflict. Mitigate the conflict by taking steps to ensure a fair and level playing field among multiple qualified vendors, competitive bids, RFP processes, and abstain from decisions or other involvement where there is a risk of bias and it's real or perceived. So remember, disclosure, review, and management. And some closing thoughts are conflicts of interest are more frequent in a community, uh, and depending on the size, of course. Perceived conflict is a potentially damaging as a real conflict. And always err on the side of caution. It's better to over disclose than to under disclose. Continue with your activities in week 12. If you have any further questions, reach out to me, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.